from the First Street Studios in South Tampa, Florida, it's time for another round of Last Call 76 with your host, Dan, Jay, and behind the camera, the one and only Jess.
Man, we got all sorts of fresh new swag.
Absolutely we do. Look at here.
Minx Inks, baby. Minx Ink.
Minx Ink, man. They hook us up, man. They give me the colors I want for our show. They're right here local. They could turn shirts one night, two night, boom. Look, I'm wearing different stuff. This is a sports show, so I want my stuff to go with the flavor of the day of what I'm going to talk about, and boom. One day return. One day.
And when we say one day return, Minx Ink doesn't put together this crap that falls off in one wash. I mean, this is top of the line, top quality stuff to where it will withstand the test of time. You know,
and all on Bella canvas or very good quality other stuff that we can get. But we like the Bella the best because I use it for my other clothing line as well. But anyway, so what are we going to talk about today?
All right. We had this great video that you can check out if you subscribe and go to our previous videos. I recommend. We talked about Tulane. I know.
Oh my gosh, I know what you're gonna do.
I know for certain, for dang sure, that ain't no USC one.
Absolutely not.
Tell me you aren't piggybacking and doing the Florida State bandwagon thing.
No. Okay, so we made this very clear in our pilot series. If you guys want to go back, we're not in uniform. We were just practicing last month. So you go back, and I talked about it. Look. Bobby Bowden used to come to our high school a lot, Dunedin High School, when we were winning all the states or qualifying for state champions. We lost them, but we were in them. So I'm a Florida boy. I own a Florida house. So I'm allowed to pull for whatever Florida team I want. By birthright, I'm a Notre Dame fan. But since we can't get our crap together up in South Bend, I'm allowed to bandwagon. What's wrong with that, Jessica? Am I allowed to do that?
All right. Florida State Notre Dame had a great rivalry in the 80s and 90s. Who were you pulling for then?
Probably Notre Dame.
All right.
Yeah, but what does that matter, though?
All right.
Look, I'm wearing this shirt because I was supposed to go with my buddy Jason Shattuck, plug out. He's a Florida State fan, but he's also a Georgia Bulldog fan, my best friend growing up, right? So we were supposed to go to the Miami game, but I couldn't make it because my daughter had to come down and work the game in Nashville the night at the Buck Stadium, right? Because she's doing the bomb dog stuff. So with that being said, I'm repping it because it looks good. Look at me. Look at me. It's pretty cool. I like it. So what does it matter? It doesn't have to be Florida State. You know what else it could be? It could be Minnesota.
I know you ain't no damn you ain't no Gophers fan.
You know what else it could be? It could be, very easily, the Washington, whatever they have.
Commanders. Yeah.
So why's it got to be Florida State like that? Let me ask you this. Why are you allowed to wear my Bulls hat? Mr. Pittsburgh, Penguins one.
Hey, man.
Mr. Avalanche.
Avalanche.
So
Avalanche.
Is that your team?
Hell no, man. I know Avalanche. I love Penguins and Bulls, baby.
Okay. My point is, let's get to a good topic, though. Let's talk about Florida football, though.
Let's do it.
It is cool. You got to admit, Florida State's kind of struggled, but here and there, they come up with a good football team. I'm kind of excited, and we've already talked about a former coach there, right?
Oh.
But look at the way they're playing. I mean, I think they're very competitive. I think they're going to get into the Final Four, right? Mm-hmm. We can't say Final Four. You know what I mean?
The same general process, yeah.
But the CFP. But what's cool about it, it's nice to see a new team in there, and Florida State's playing very well. Yeah. And I mean, even their quarterback's a Heisman candidate, right? You know, he's in the hunt.
Jordan Travis is a stud.
And then their coach is pretty dang good, right? So, but look at Florida football as a whole. It's so temperamental, though. Would you agree?
Yeah.
It's like Miami hasn't done nothing in a long time. Florida was a powerhouse for a while, and then there was kind of a void, right?
Yep.
Florida State's coming back. And then we look at UCF the other day, beats the brakes off Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. So it's still there. I don't know, or Florida Atlantic now, right? And whatever other colleges they've opened up the last 3 years that have a football team, who even knows? I mean, you go to Walmart, there's like 70 different teams, and I don't even ever heard of half of them. I don't know if it's a high school, if it's a college anymore. But for the power teams, Florida really has fallen off quite a bit in college football. Would you agree? I think I'm right. I mean, as far as a whole state, you know, I mean, you look at California right now, you know, as far as college football, they've kind of fallen off a little bit.
If we look at the haves versus the have-nots traditionally,
yeah,
the state has constantly, traditionally been run by, realistically speaking, Florida State, the U, and Florida.
Absolutely.
And that's basically over a 30-year period of time. Let's be honest, you didn't really come around until the late 80s. I mean, they had an 84 championship winner, the late Howard Snellenberger.
Mm-hmm.
Then 88, Jimmy Rosebar. Florida State got up there in the 80s, 90s under Bobby Bowden, God rest his soul. Florida was a thing, they had some things there in the 80s where they were okay. I think they had 10-0.
With Galen Hall.
With Galen Hall and
yeah, but they were in the fight.
But they were in the fight. But they really became that prominent program under Spurrier and then later Urban Meyer. But then it's a bunch of other teams like the USFs, and Central Florida got up there a couple years. But
and USF had one really good run
with Jim Levitt.
Yeah.
But now you look what's going on though. Now Florida's down. Florida's way down. They're talking about whether Napier's going to survive to see year 3.
Right.
Here's a statistic for you. Unless they pull out a miracle when they beat Missouri and Florida State, they're going to wind up with back-to-back losing seasons for the first time since the 1940s. That's not good. And I like Billy a lot, but that ain't good. Miami, at last check, right now, at the time of this recording, they were down 38-31 to Louisville with about a minute to go.
Yeah, Louisville's tough.
Miami's 6-4 right now, but they're paying Mario Cristobal a bunch of money.
Right.
Another one. So we talk about buyouts. That's going to get dicey.
Well, I think what happened there with Miami, that bad coaching move, that run play, they fumbled it. It seems like the wind came out the sails after that.
That's it.
And they lost to Florida State. So that was, and you know what? That's still a rivalry game.
Yeah.
So I think Florida State is legit. But keep on.
When you're a coach on that level, that's where you brush losses like that. You're paying them a ton of money. And they pried them away from Oregon. No easy task.
Right.
When you're a coach at that level, you suffer a debilitating loss like that. That's where you say, look, forget it. Move on. There's next week.
Right.
And it's just completely come off the bus. But at least we can say Florida State is back. And they had some lean years. Let's be honest. And even at the end of Jimbo's run in Tallahassee, wasn't all sunshine and rainbows.
No,
then they had the Willie Taggart debacle. Even Norvell, who I got to see, there's another school, Arizona State, that's got some ASU colors. I knew him at his time at ASU when he was there. Bright mind, but it took him a couple years to get his foot on the ground. Sometimes patience is a virtue, and now FSU looks like one of the four best teams in the country.
Right. I'll be honest with you. I'm shocked, to be honest, with the teams they've played. Mm-hmm. Some people would say they've played a soft schedule, but I'm surprised they haven't even jumped into 3, in some ways because of the easy games. But 4 is good as long as they can hold it.
I'd like to anybody that says they played a soft schedule, I'd like to dispute that because North Carolina ain't no joke. They're going to have a quarterback that's at worst going to be picked in top 3.
But I think the things like with Duke and stuff, those are teams that weren't expected to be that good. So I think when you look at, but again, it never fails. It's the same thing. It's the same story every year. There is a certain flavor that America believes always gets the, free pass.
Yeah.
Ohio State's, the Michigans, all playing 3, 4, 5 chump teams in the beginning. And then you hear Florida State has to play Duke. And then what did didn't they have like a weird game? You mentioned it, like some Appalachian State or something.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, they should never be ranked number 4. Man, let me tell you.
But it's okay if Alabama's playing Chattanooga today.
Right. But at the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says. Florida State has more than earned their way into the number 4 slot. That's it. And I'm excited to watch them in the playoffs.
Yeah, there you go. Our woman behind the camera, Jessica, showed 66-10 Alabama over Chattanooga. There's
Chattanooga.
And Chattanooga in the end of November, Thanksgiving week, they're playing Chattanooga.
Right.
So I don't want to hear anything about Florida State having to play Duke, who, by the way, won 9 games last year.
Right.
Who was on their pace to win probably 7 or 8 this year under Mike Elko, who, by the way, is one of the top candidates to replace Jimbo at Texas A&M. This isn't Duke football of years past. Okay, let's move this gibberish. Louisville.
I mean, they're a good football team. Right. Louisville's a good football team.
Which, Jess, if you could for us, please, if you could do a check down on how that Miami-Louisville game is going while we're at that. But think about it, though. We can sit there and criticize strength of schedule. Are we going to go down that rabbit hole? Because let's look at, even the SEC, which is the almighty of conferences, right? Florida's down this year. Vanderbilt, Kentucky's okay. But, I mean, is Kentucky one of those put the fear of God into you teams?
No.
They're, excuse the terminology here, they're turds in the punch, won every conference.
Man, I spend so much time. Is that final? Okay.
Well,
5 seconds left is pretty final. So Louisville defeats Miami. Hey.
We lost in 5 seconds.
Yeah, so it's who's got the ball? Who's got the ball, Jess?
Just look for the little dot, kind of like on your gas gauge. I don't know if you know this, but there's an arrow.
Our behind the camera expert is giving us up to date, up to the minute, up to the second information in this game.
So you got to look for where the football's at.
Okay, it is now final. So,
But you are aware that in your car as well, it'll tell you what side the gas cap. There's a little arrow. Okay.
So Miami falls to 6-5.
There you go. So basically a dumpster fire again, which had a good season going until that fumble issue. And everybody was like, oh, that coach needs to be fired right now. Look, man, you make mistakes. Who would expect your back to run one play and fumble the ball, right? It could have easily been on the kneel down snap, but because it happened like that, then the national criticism comes apart. Whatever it is, hey, there was a lot of other things that happened during that game besides that factored into them losing. Would you agree?
Agree 100%.
Yes, but getting back to what you're saying, though. So when you look at, if this is a standard, that's why I can't wait to see college football expand next year into the new playoff system.
Yep.
Because now it's like almost becoming like the Final Four in basketball. You're going to have to play your way in now.
No, sure.
So after they get into that lock, in that bracket, you got to play now. And all you people that thought they played a weak schedule and everything else, that doesn't matter. Because once they're locked into the bracket, it's single elimination. So I can't wait for it because I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of teams that get away with playing weak schedules, primarily up in the North. I mean, let's just be honest right now, the Pac-12, nobody can argue with 6 ranked teams throughout the year.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and tell me that there is one conference in football this year that's stronger than that conference.
No.
But there are people out there that will argue that.
And, there's
How can you?
they can't. There's
Well, it gets back to the whole Dion thing, right? It's like everybody's like, oh, this guy, he's this, he's that, he's a joke, da-da-da-da-da. But at the end of the day, he won 4 games, and guess what? He had to play all 6 of those ranked teams at the time they played them.
There is a Dion video to be had that we're going to certainly make about that.
I'm not going to get into it right now.
Just a second, but I get your point. Your point of view is completely right. We're ready to jump to Dion, jump on a guy for every mistake he makes when he is in his first year as a high-level head coach in one of the toughest conferences in football.
One of.
If not the toughest, right? You've got 2 teams right now. If they put Washington and Oregon in the FCS playoffs, I would not complain. I wouldn't.
Well, only one bad thing has to happen, and I'll tell you, if Alabama beats Georgia, we're talking a whole different story. However, Georgia will probably move to 4. Let's just be real.
No, Georgia,
that's how that works. Or the Michigan-Ohio State game, because of the way the committee works. Is that a nice political way? Somehow, the loser of that game, especially if it's Ohio State, they'll stay at 4.
So here's my roll around though.
And I'd love for you to look at their schedule just for a caveat, because I know you're going to give me one. But Ohio State, all those free games they get to play, all those free games Michigan gets to play, and they're going to be the ones up there arguing, oh, Alabama is playing Chattanooga or this and that.
Oh yeah, because my Ohio State didn't play lift my leg tech and scratch my rear end university. I mean, they all get dumped. Here's your gimme win for the year or 2.
They don't get 2 or 3 a year.
Yeah, so it goes all over the place.
3 bye weeks. I'm idle.
And
that's a professional way of saying it. Look, this week we're idle because we're playing Bowling Green in Toledo of Ohio, Miami of Ohio, or whatever all these schools are. Yeah, hey,
here's Ball State, baby. That's why I can't wait till next year, though. When Washington goes, USC goes, UCLA, and Oregon all go to the Big Ten, the big, whatever. It's still the Big Ten. It hasn't been the Big Ten since 1993. Nice geographics. We've got the Big 12 that's 8 teams, 10 teams, and now it's the Big Ten's 12. Good math.
So
that's not going to be the case next year.
Think about this though. By and large, okay, this is how it works every year right now in the Big. Penn State does their thing. Michigan does their thing. Ohio State does their thing. And like the 8th week of college football, Penn State finally has to play Michigan. And you can bet Penn State most likely will lose. And then so there's 3 games in that conference a year, or 4 that you're watching, right? They each got to play each other, and then one of them's got to play for the Michigan game at the end of the year. So, I mean, is that kind of how it works?
Yeah. Pick each other off.
So they play, 5 total games together, whatever it may be, and then they have to go to the Big Ten championship or the Big Championship, right?
Yeah.
And then who are they going to play?
Well, whoever wins that game this year, you get Iowa or Purdue or like last year, Michigan was 10-0 or 11-0, I think, something like that, 10-11-0, 12-0, what have you, and they're playing an 8-4 Purdue team. No disrespect, Jeff Brom's a hell of a coach.
Yeah,
He did great things with Purdue. Best Purdue football's looked since Joe Tiller and Drew Brees back in the
Right.
But a 12-win team playing an 8-4 team for a conference championship, I'm sorry, that's nonsense. That's a basic exhibition game. Just give, why do we need this? And that's what we're talking about, the state of the Big Ten, or the Big. Like,
Oh, next year, baby.
and that next year it's going to be a whole different animal, because even UCLA, who is the afterthought of that, they're a one coach away. I don't know if Chip Kelly's it or not. They're one coach away from being right back
They're
there.
not a bad football team, and they got some really good defensive players. So you look now, you're bringing Washington in, you're bringing Oregon in, UCLA and USC.
Yep.
Yeah, all those dreamers up in the Big Ten that they live their whole life of, it's Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State. Just wait what's about to happen to the Big. And I'm promising you right now, when they got to face all these teams over and over and over again, and now they're not even having a conference, right? Just one. They're not split, right?
Yep.
Yeah, good luck with that. Playing all your Toledo of Ohio, your Bowling Greens, and finally you play a really important game, Illini at Illinois and University of Indiana. Boy, you guys are rocking them guns up in the Big.
Here's our pipes when we're playing Youngstown State.
Yeah, right. Come on, man. You can't talk to me about Penn State's. I mean, look, I'll be honest with you, though. Penn State, since we're on it, I don't consider them a power football team at all, but some people still do. But I will tell you, they're one of the best wrestling programs in the world.
Hey, listen, I'm a Penn State alumni. Anybody wants to come after me?
I know I always get on you about that.
Go for it. But anybody wants to come after me and say, I paid $40,000 to go there. If I can't criticize the school, then give me my $40,000 back. I'll put it for my kids' education. I don't have to sit there and root for the football team. I'm not going, and I'm not going to sit there and say they're a great program when I haven't won jack diddly squat that meant anything that was in high level like that since 1987. Right.
Okay, so think about this, though. So 1987, Todd Blackledge, and then you had Todd Collins, right? Is that his name?
Terry Collins.
Terry Collins, that played for the Giants.
Yeah,
right?
Panthers and Giants. He was on the Panthers.
So those are the two quarterbacks that I can remember that did anything.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we have Michael Parsons right now is a standout for Penn State.
Yeah.
And then we have
Chris Godwin.
and Barkley,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, but other than that, think about this though. I don't want to be mean, but I believe in 1993 or 2003, 1993. 93, they moved to the Big Ten, right? Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yeah, 93.
They left the independent.
Yeah.
So, do you know Wisconsin's been to more Rose Bowls than they have in that time?
That is
Did you know that though?
Did anybody consider Wisconsin a premier school?
Well, they were a couple of years with Ron Dane, and they had Russell Wilson. So they had some years, but they still went to more Rose Bowls in that time than Penn State. So anyway, I'm not going to spend no more time on it because I'm going to get hate mail from my Big Ten fans out there. But you can't tell me it's a powerhouse division.
No,
Hey, there may be one team that's the best team in the nation, like Ohio State.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But the conference is not strong.
Well, shoot, if you want to look,
Because the same teams wouldn't be able to be in there every year if it was. That's
Right.
my point.
hey, if you want to look at prominent bowls, that team down the street in Orlando has had more prominent 12-0 seasons and bowl runs than Penn State has.
Don't get me started like that. And like I said, I'm ending on this, but I know, because somebody else is going to watch it, Tulane would beat the brakes off of Penn State right now.
Yeah.
I would bet on it.
Oh, real quick, I'll close up by saying that since we started with Florida, best thing that happened to UCF is moving to the Big 12.
Oh, yes.
That is the best thing because that program, I don't know if Gus Malzahn's the guy or not. I don't know if he's going to wind up leaving for Mississippi State and collecting more money and triple decking it, so to speak. But yeah, them moving to the Big 12, best thing that could happen to that program. Hopefully USF gets the same benefit soon.
I hope so. I think there's going to be a lot of moves in the future, and it's going to make college football amazing. I think so. This year has been awesome so far.
Yeah. USF, they got 5 wins. That doesn't seem like much. They won 1 game last year. They won 2 games in the last 2 years under Jeff Scott. They're already on their progression. One thing Alex Golish is doing, he's putting the fence around the city of Tampa. He's trying to keep the local kids local, and that's huge.
And now we're building a new stadium as well.
There you go. That'll be
I
big.
don't know why, but we are at 30 or 40,000 people, but I guess we got that kind of money in Tampa. I'm not driving to Bruce B. Downs more than once or twice though to go watch a game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until they start marking it up. I'd rather just drive to Tallahassee or down to Miami and check it out. All right, that's all I got on this one.
Well, check us out here and be sure to subscribe, and share. Thanks.
This episode of Last Call was brought to you by SJP Snapshots, and Minx Inc. Clothing and Apparel.